Death is not something we typically like to talk about in our culture, and it's very much avoided, but it is something we all will inevitably face. We will lose many loved ones before we ourselves leave this planet, and ultimately you can do everything you can to try and live a healthy life and prolong your longevity, but it, at the end of the day, is up to something bigger than us. And some of us may live long, beautiful lives, and others may live a life that seems cut short, but I do believe there is a higher design to when we are supposed to exit this planet. Even if it is short and traumatic, it is always to leave some sort of ramifying lesson for those around you. This past 2 weeks, I've had I'll call it a privilege or an honor of witnessing the death of my grandmother. While I was not able to be there with her in person, all of my family, or most of my family, was there, and vicariously through our energetic connections and also through some FaceTime, I was able to take part in her transition from this place. And while of course we are all grieving and miss her dearly, it is a life celebrated. She was 93 years old and brought 5 children and 11 grandchildren and 7 great-grandchildren into this world. And she's an incredible, beautiful woman that got to have a great journey here. It was a very full life, and she's one of the blessed ones that got to live into her 90s. And it's just a reminder that, of course, it's such a cliche. You find out what really matters at the end, but of course when death touches us intimately, closely with someone we are so deeply connected to, it's of course always a deeper experience of those cliches or those lessons that are cliches for a reason. They are really deep spiritual teachings. And I'm not going to share too much of my grandmother's transition journey, but one poignant thing I do want to share to also shed some light on, heavy times, or what can be heavy times, it's sort of the talking point of why I wanted to do this video, is as she knew she was dying, which if you think about that, that's a really unique position to be in, that not everyone will. Some people will die suddenly, tragically, through a heart attack or through some sort of accident, or maybe they are elderly but then they just go in their sleep. But she was in a unique position of, she had a stroke, a very acute stroke, and was very debilitated from it. And it was very clear from all of the medical testing and the hemorrhaging in her brain that was going on that there was no coming back from this. And so she knew she was going to die, and she was in and out of lucidity, could speak kind of in some instances, kind of not in some others, and in and out of consciousness, but did have moments where she could speak just a little bit, or she could at least very, very much respond to those around her speaking, and you could see there was cognitive recognition of that. And at some point she did say, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to die, and was asking us, what do we think it would be like? And to hold space for that is, again, as I said, it's an honor and a privilege, because if you can imagine, and maybe some people watching this have had some sort of near-death experience, or you're near transition yourself, and that is for anyone able to witness and experience that is must be such a humbling thing. And for me, it was such a wondrous thing, because just energetically tuning into her and feeling her sort of straddling both worlds. And she was, she said my grandfather was in the room with her. He passed 20 years ago, and just feeling and knowing you are about to transition, but consciously still being here. That's, to me, a really surreal place to be in. And I don't know quite how to put words on it, but I could feel into it. And I had a similar instance where I had a very dear friend pass away from cancer when she was young. She was 27, and I went to see her in the hospital, and it seemed like she was kind of getting better, but also really still struggling. And when I saw her, I could feel part of her was already on the other side, and I knew I would not get to see her again. And then 3 days later, she ended up passing. And it's this very heavy but beautiful and just ethereal thing to be connected, to someone here, but that's also already connected to something greater that ultimately we all are connected to, but we forget. And it's this reminder of there's however you like to define your spiritual beliefs, there is so much going on that's so much bigger and greater than us. And when someone is about to transition and they know it, luckily, so much of my family was able to be there. All of her kids got to be there, which was the most important, and quite a few of the grandkids and even some of the great grandbabies got to be there, and some of her nieces and nephews, and so much love came to rally around her. And that was all that she wanted. She just wanted to be with all of her people that were still on this planet. And she was in a hard position of so many of her friends and family, and her husband had already passed on. She had outlived really everyone, all of her peers, and she was ready to join them again. But in her last moments, she was so happy to just have her loved ones with her. And the only thing she wanted was, she had been unconscious for a little bit, and we thought she was about to go, and then she woke up and she couldn't quite talk very much anymore, but she just said beer. She really wanted a beer. And so one of my family members, one of my cousins, went out and did a beer run, and they got, of course, non-alcoholic beer. But my grandma loved beer, and that was her last, she loved big parties. She was great at entertaining, but the whole family was there and just had a beer with grandma. And that was all she wanted, was just her little indulgence and her family. And then she got to be in that space of love as she transitioned. And I'm bringing this up today because it is such a strong reminder for me and for anyone who's lost someone they love. I'm sure everyone has, and we will all continue to lose people until we go ourselves. But when you are at those final moments of leaving, or put the exercise on yourself, imagine today is your last day and you're going to leave. What is it that you would truly want? What is it that matters? Of course, it's love, it's connection, it's being with those people you've shared your life with, and that extends to fur babies, of course, or maybe, listening to some beautiful music, or hell, a beer, like my grandma, a little indulgence, that's great, or maybe a great last meal. But no one has ever, and if you listen to these near-death experiences or elderly people that are centenarians and know they don't have much time left, no one has ever said, I wish I could just buy one more purse. I wish I had bought that bigger house. I wish we had really had 2 cars growing up. I wish I had a couple more diamonds. I wish I had the new iPhone. I wish I had another streaming service. I wish I had a new blouse. Like, oh my gosh, it sounds so silly, right? Of course, that's not ever a conversation. And yet, how much of our lives do we orient around these things? How much of our time do we sacrifice? How much of our money, which is really an extension of what we choose to put our time into, have we sacrificed to accumulate things, useless stuff and gadgets and electronics and bits and bobs and things to impress each other, or a new outfit, or just thousands and thousands of things? Look around your house right now. Look at your receipts from Amazon Prime, or your bank account, or just however you track your spending. Look at everything you've bought in the past 3 months and ask yourself, if you were to die tomorrow, would you be sitting there with a smile on your face saying, thank God I bought fill in the blank? Probably not. You would be wanting to be with as many of your loved ones as you can, and maybe have one last experience at the beach or in the mountains, or canoeing on a river, or whatever you love to do, or enjoy that last beautiful meal or luxurious glass of wine, or listen to your favorite piece of music. Experiences love connection. It's no secret, and it's so obvious, and no one would disagree, and yet we live our life in such discord with this. We devote so much of our precious time and resources to accumulating these things that aren't actually adding value, that aren't leading to a full and rich experience, and on top of that are causing immense destruction to the planet. If anyone wants to watch a great but disturbing but great documentary, check out, it's called Buy Now, The Shopping Conspiracy. It's on Netflix. It's really well done. It's kind of very visual too, but there's a lot of really good hard facts in there, and a lot of imagery that's quite disturbing of our consumer culture that is addicted to bigger, better, faster, cheaper. And one of the most poignant lines in this, and it's something so obvious, but we forget, when you throw something away, there is no away. It just goes somewhere else. And to, put even something in the recycling and thinking, oh, I did my part, well, it's probably getting buried or burned or just ending up in the ocean and just creating some kind of waste. And it to even come into existence, it created waste. And the amount of e-waste that we have there's something crazy. It's like 600,000 phones are created every minute, like mind-boggling. And all of these devices are designed to trick you into thinking you need the newest and latest and greatest all the time to keep up with it. And, oh, I recycled it through my Verizon or AT&T or whoever, and now it's just magically out of the atmosphere. No, it's not. Most electronics are shipped to very poor or developing nations where they have to then dispose of this, and it's a source of like menial income from them. But we are literally sending billions of tons of electronic waste to Thailand is a big spot, but there's others where they then break it down into smaller pieces and try to bury it in some way. But all of those toxic chemicals are going back into the environment. So there is no away when you throw something away. The only thing that breaks down is food. Food can go into compost, that's great. But every single thing else that we have created, clothes, home goods, shoes, toys, electronics, games, gear, when you don't want it and you donate it, chances are it's ending up in the trash and becoming someone else's problem, but ultimately all of our problems, because this pollution affects the entire planet, and it is the air we all breathe, the water we all drink, the soil that grows all of our food that is being polluted by this waste. And to bring this back, because I don't want this to get too heavy of a video, for something that is meant to be more lighthearted is not the right word, but full of heart, because we're talking about transition of loved ones. It's just a reminder to really be conscious of the choices you make moving forward. Yes, declutter your home. I have tons of videos about decluttering to come to a better life of simplicity. That's fantastic. If you're newer to minimalism, then yes, declutter, do it. But the point is to radically rewire your habits. If you declutter and then go buy a bunch more stuff, then we're missing it, right? The point is to start a revolution, a peaceful revolution in our gloriously, radically, horribly unsustainable, unethical practices of overconsumption. We are simply producing and consuming billions and billions and trillions more items than we actually need. And again, if they really were elevating our life to this higher spiritual dimension of love and connection and creativity, then cool, okay, great. And a fraction of those things can be tools for that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to death, which we all will face, no one likes to talk about it, but we are all going to die. Do you want your legacy to be, I bought all this stuff, and I was a good parent because I bought all these toys for my kids, and I mattered to the world because my house was big and I had a 2-car garage, or I had a Tesla or Jaguar or whatever. I mattered in this world because I have a Chanel handbag. Like, nobody really, if you go to the core of humanity, no one really thinks that to be true, and yet so many of us get caught up in these illusions of what happiness are, these illusions of what fulfillment are, these illusions of what meaning and value in the world are. And when we come to death, it only then some people will wake up and be like, wow, I was chasing the wrong things. Wow, I had such a void or such an emptiness that I was trying to fill with so many things that just made me feel more empty. And wow, my gosh, how much did I personally contribute to the degradation of the environment or the just manipulation of the system to oppress developing nations and other people in less of a position of power to deal with my waste and my pollution and the effects of climate change that our emissions are causing. You don't want that hanging over your consciousness, and especially if those things, that pursuit of wealth and power and stuff, alienated you from deeper meaning and connection and creativity and consciousness. And they're not always mutually exclusive. I'm not saying everyone has to live like an ascetic monk in order to really have, love, connection, peace, presence, but you'll find the less of those things that you consume, the more you will come to those places of love and peace and connection. And when it is time for you to go, if you have lived a rich life with love and connection and creativity and peace and presence and giving back and reciprocity and treating not just humans but animals in the environment with respect and reciprocity, then there are no regrets. Then you can have that last beer or your last moments with your family, hopefully, if you're lucky to have that, or however you go. It's not with a guilty conscience, it's not with feelings of regret, it's not with wishing you could have done something different, because right now, even if you have a past of blind consumerism, you can choose to change now, and choosing to live your life in a more holistic way and letting go of the materialism that is destroying the connection of humanity and destroying our planet around us. If you choose to act in this radically new way and dismantle an extremely corrupt system, then you are taking so much power into your hands and you're going to give so much more value to this world. So just something to think about. I know I'm very sporadic with my posting these days. I am riding the tide of graduate school work. October was insane, a good insane, but definitely I love everything that I am devoting myself to. It's just taking all of me, but I feel like I've turned a bit of a corner, so I'm going to try and post a bit more if I can. But until then, my friends, I hope this landed with you. If you have just lost a loved one, or if you think you're about to lose a loved one, or you yourself think you may be facing your time of transition, all my love to you, and just let that serve as a reminder of what truly matters in life. And if we all join together and decide to act differently, wildly differently as humans, and come back to what we were really designed to do, change really can happen. It's in our hands. Thank you.